For decades, experience was power. It was scarce. It was the hard-won ability to recognize patterns and build judgment through sheer repetition. That was the game. That was the advantage.
But now, that very foundation is being challenged in a pretty fundamental way. For the first time ever, we have a non-human system that can learn at a velocity that just completely redefines the rules.
And that brings us to this really critical question. What actually happens to the value of human experience when a huge part of its function, pattern recognition, can suddenly be replicated and scaled, well, almost infinitely? And look, this isn't some far-off hypothetical. If a system can analyze 1 million legal cases or 1 million lines of code or 1 million patient charts in the time it takes a human to review maybe a dozen, the entire timeline for developing expertise gets compressed. The edge that came from just putting in the time, it starts to erode. I want you to think about this in your own world. Have you seen it yet? Maybe junior members of your team who are using AI tools and delivering insights that just feel accelerated. Let us know what you're seeing. It's one of the clearest signals of this massive power shift. So let's be really clear here. The story isn't about replacement. It's about compression. AI is squeezing the timeline, and it's forcing all of us to rethink where the real, lasting value of human experience is going to be. And that fundamentally changes everything about power and hierarchy.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start with that traditional power structure of experience, then look at how AI is changing the game, the power shift that's happening because of it, and finally, where the new premium on experience is actually moving.
Okay, so to really get what's changing, we first have to look at how things used to be. For a long time, deep experience worked like a defensive fortress. We call this the knowledge moat, and you gotta picture it being built brick by painful brick from tough projects, unseen complications, and crises that you just had to live through. It was wide and it was deep, because the only way to build it was through time. There were no shortcuts.
And this wasn't just some abstract idea, right? This moat showed up in very real ways. In consulting, a senior partner's experience meant they could frame a problem way more effectively from the jump. In operations, a veteran manager knew exactly what to do with that 1 in a million exception. And for a leader, years of experience informed those incredibly tough trade-off decisions that really define strategic success.
Okay, but here's the real challenge, isn't it? Is that moat quite as formidable as it used to be? What happens when a junior analyst can use an AI to simulate thousands of scenarios, or a new coder can use a copilot to spot edge cases they've never seen before? Is that gap really as wide? Now, the key thing to understand here is that this is nuanced. The moat isn't just disappearing. Of course, deep experience still matters, but technology is building bridges across it. The advantage isn't vanishing, it's narrowing, and that presents a completely new strategic reality.
So how exactly is this happening? Well, the moat is narrowing because of one incredibly powerful force, AI's ability to compress our learning loops.
See, experience has always been about slow, steady repetition. But just look at the contrast now. A doctor once needed years of clinical practice to recognize very faint diagnostic signals. An AI can spot those same patterns after being trained on millions of medical images. A senior engineer built their gut intuition over thousands of hours of debugging code. Today, an AI copilot suggests fixes for junior developers, which just radically accelerates that learning curve. Senior strategists used to spend their entire careers learning how to synthesize ambiguous info. Now, AI can generate and analyze scenarios at a scale that was literally impossible before. And I want you to pay close attention to the language here. This isn't about eliminating experts, it's about approximation. AI is allowing less experienced professionals to approximate the outcomes of deep experience much, much faster. It's like a scaffold for building judgment.
So, this forces a pretty uncomfortable economic question, doesn't it? If the time it takes to get good at certain things is drastically cut down, can we logically expect the market to keep paying the same premium just for tenure? If years in the chair are no longer the only way to get certain capabilities, then the value proposition has to change. What are your thoughts on that?
So here's the bottom line. AI isn't really attacking experience head-on. It's attacking time. You could say AI's most profound impact is its assault on the temporal advantage that seniority has always had.
And when you start messing with time, you inevitably start messing with the power structures that are built on it. And this is where we see the ground really starting to shift under our feet.
And this chart really just lays it all out.
Historically, professional advantage was heavily weighted toward tenure, just years in a role. What we're seeing now is a reweighting. The relative value of tenure seems to be declining, while the value of leverage, your ability to use tools like AI to multiply your impact, is just rising sharply.
So what this all leads to is a completely new authority matrix. The old source of power was seniority. The new source is adaptability. Legacy authority is being challenged by pure speed of execution, and that raw accumulated experience, well, it's being complemented by something new: augmented judgment, the skill of blending human insight with machine intelligence to make better decisions faster.
This really becomes a personal question for all of us. Is your unique advantage based on the fact that you've been doing something for 20 years? Or is it based on your ability to combine those 20 years of wisdom with the most powerful tools out there to create something nobody else can?
At the end of the day, the biggest risk here isn't for people who lack experience. The real danger is for those who have a ton of it, but who are trying to defend it like nothing has changed. Okay, so if the old forms of experience are being compressed, where is all that value actually going? Well, it's not just vanishing into thin air, it's migrating.
So let's look at the old model. Picture a pyramid. The foundation, the base layer, was just repetition, doing the thing over and over. That led to the middle layer, pattern recognition. And at the very peak was the authority you got just based on tenure. That was the ladder you climbed.
Okay, now look at the new model. The pyramid is being rebuilt. The base layer of routine tasks, it's becoming commoditized by AI. That middle layer is now all about augmented data synthesis. But the real value, the new scarcity, has shot up to this glowing peak. This is where the uniquely human skills now command a massive premium, making wise judgments when things are ambiguous, navigating really complex ethical minefields, making those high-stakes trade-off decisions, and, critically, acting as a broker of human trust.
So this is where we land. It comes down to a fundamental choice. Is your experience a record of the past, kind of a museum of what you've already done, or is it a living, breathing capability that you are actively evolving into the kind of high-level judgment that will define value in this new world?
The big idea here is simple. The competitive edge you get from experience, it isn't going away. It's just migrating. It's moving away from what can be automated and toward what remains uniquely and powerfully human.
If you take away one thing, let it be this. The stuff that used to be common is now being commoditized, and the things that were once the exclusive domain of a few people at the very top, deep wisdom, ethical courage, contextual judgment, those are now the only truly scarce resources left. Scarcity moved up. The only question is, are you moving with it?